What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we are back for another episode of the Right Quality Podcast. Before we get to Emilio and his crazy whatever that is on the top of his head, as you all can see, we have a very, very, very special, not guest, but returning co-host back into our midst. Please remind the people who you are as you grace the pod with your return.
Oh my gosh, I'm Ashley Wright the first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, the band is officially now all together.
Yes.
Guys, can't wait. I'm so excited. This is so fun. Okay, Emilio. Nice. Emilio, you can say hello to the people now.
I would not like to. I've been dissed. I would like to return shots. I have nothing to say. Great to see y'all. It's been a minute. I'm not basketballed out, but coaching has started too.
Yeah, no,
I'm basketballed out.
Yeah,
I have a lot to say, but we'll wait.
We will get into it. We will start this. We'll just go right into it. Just finished yesterday, so we'll go right into the NBA Cup, NBA season tournament. Let's just start with thoughts on this inaugural in-season thing. Nobody knew exactly what this was going to look like or how this was going to be when they announced it, but I think that everybody can say it was entertaining. I think nobody's complaining about competitive basketball in November and December. So, yeah, thoughts on the inaugural in-season tournament?
No, I thought it was fun. Like, a couple of the games felt like a playoff atmosphere. One that comes to mind for sure was the Pacers and the Celtics. Seeing how both teams were going after it. Like you said, competitive basketball in that December area right before Christmas. Steve, you and I had a chance to talk before the show, and it's like right after Christmas between the trade deadline is when things start really, ramping up and those debates come in as far as MVP and stuff like that. So this was a fun way to usher us into that part of the season.
Agreed. Gail?
It makes a previously boring part of the season way more fun. So like I'm down for that. I'm down for the free beefs with the scoring margin, with coaches getting at it, players, having those parlays being popped, all of that. Like I'm down for everything that came from it. Bron has solidified his legacy as greatest player of all time. Michael Jordan has only been a loser in Vegas, and LeBron found a way to win in Vegas, something that Jordan could never. 3, I don't know. Like, I feel like this is kind of showing us how the playoffs are possibly going to look. Like, all these young teams with, hopes of dethroning these, previous greats. And we talked about maybe a passing of the guard, but maybe kind of showing that, experience still holds the key to a lot of these chips, but that also comes with health too. Like the Lakers won because they are healthy right now, and they had that luxury last year at this time, but later on we'll have to see, can they make it a full 82 game season? So I don't know. It's a nice taste for what's to come, and I feel like it's just, they can just do something with the point differential thing. I think if they go to who has the better record in terms of tiebreaker, I feel like that would be better. But other than that minor detail about the in-season tournament, I think it was a win overall.
Yeah.
Oh, and funniest tweet that came out of it was, there will be champagne bottles and goggles inside of the locker room. That tweet was 10 out of 10. I had to drop everything just to see that. So it was, I think it was a win for the NBA.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that both of you all said. I don't know how MJ caught strays in the midst of you talking about the in-season tournament, because saying he never won in Vegas is crazy. That is a crazy thing to say.
Hey, man, it's in the lore.
Not inaccurate, but that's not the point. The point is, we weren't talking about that.
Hey, man. Hey, we have to tie in previous episodes. I'm still arguing my top 5, my top 10 lists.
But anyway, so okay. So how much do you really think that the in-season tournament plays a role in NBA legacies? Because this was a question that Ashley actually had But do you really feel like Bron winning this inaugural thing changes anything?
The Scrooge McDuck trophy, as one of my homies called it. I mean, my man wants coin. I love LeBron. I mean, it is.
He said for 500,000, I will take.
Yeah, like
I am there. Like I'm showing up. That is
love it.
He doesn't pay. We know him. He's notoriously cheap. So I feel like
yeah, Zuri needs gifts.
100%. So I think it's just a fun bonus. He even said it too, like for the guys that might not get as much, that might not have playoff experience and get to see what this type of basketball is like. I feel like it's a positive. It's only bring more competitive games to the league, and I feel like that's what we were missing. Like guys are just playing not to get hurt, essentially in the first few months of the season, and now it's like, okay, cool. Here's a $500,000 check for every single one of you, and that Timothy. I was like, is that Timothy Chalamet? I was like, I was tripping. I was at my
Stars route. The Stars
route. I was like, had to catch a bag. I ain't no way they're out there in Vegas in mid-December. No, I could be wrong, but I don't know. That's my one conspiracy. Adam Silver had a couple plants in there. It's like, here's $500K to you too. Show up.
For people to show up?
Honestly, they got Taylor Swift at NFL games. They need to do something too.
But I mean, it's always been celebrity row at NBA games, so I feel 100%. That it's not hard for celebrities to pop out to Vegas. You know what I mean? But
that part, I just think it's always mostly like New York and LA's outside of anything. Like we get Gucci Mane at a Bucks game here and there.
He is a Giannis fan.
Yeah.
So true. But okay, so that makes me think though. Do you all think the in-season tournament should stay in Vegas, or should there be this like rotating group of like major cities though? Still major cities, right? I think there should be this rotating like I said, only major cities. So you go Vegas, New York.
I say this is where you go, you touch international. Like, I mean, let's throw a Mexico City one because they might have a team one day. Let's throw like another one. Let's go back to Vancouver and see if they want one. Let's see Seattle, like go tease those teams that might be in the league soon these next couple of years.
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial for the NBA to touch cities that don't have NBA teams. It's a great way to see what the market is like and gauge where potential expansion teams could be. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and then we have the Paris game too. I mean, like we could really take it international for these, like, one game a season. They already cleared a Sunday game for it anyways. It's like, the guys, if the players want to do it, if that's something that, go to London, go somewhere that's, somewhat feasible, it'd be kind of dope.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. NBA, the Adam Silver, look, man, go ahead and implement it. All right. At this point,
give us our royalty, and then
right.
Or just make us the official NBA pod, and we can go.
Yeah. Go from there. Very simple. Very simple. But we'll stay on Bron for a little bit because Ashley was so nice to inform me of how the resident hater in the NBA, Paul Pierce.
Oh my god!
I just saw that. I call a spade.
So I really feel like he was trolling, but then as I watched the clip, I realized he was super serious. But Paul Pierce does not believe that LeBron James is a top 5 player in the NBA right now. Like, as of today, as of what we've seen in this NBA season, he does not believe that he's a top 5 NBA player.
In 2023.
I mean, he shouldn't be. Like, mathematically, he shouldn't be in this conversation.
Right.
But he is. Yesterday, he proved it. Like, I mean, he OG'd them. Like, he was like, when he was putting his head into them and, like, doing the shoulder shrug shit, I was like, okay, Bron. Like,
he's so dramatic.
Being a bully.
He is. So dramatic. He's super dramatic. He is.
Yeah, come on, man. Relax. 38.
But there's not 5 players. Like if you ask me if I was drafting from who's in the NBA right now to start a team, I honestly don't know who realistically could name 5 players that you are taking over LeBron, like for going into a season in 2023. Like you can try to make arguments if you want, but I also don't think anybody has the IQ that LeBron has. I don't think there's anybody in the league that has the IQ. The closest person is CP, but even both of them are really in a class of their own, you know. So yeah, I feel like that's hate. I feel like that's hate from Pierce. I feel like he's been on the hate train since he got fired from ESPN because he wanted to be with the bad on IG Live. So hey, that's all I'm saying. I don't know what that's about, but I think that got something to do with it. But
no, yeah, I agree. Cause like he was naming his list and then he put Jason Tatum at the top. He also named Luka Doncic. I don't shoot me. I don't think Jason's better than Luka even. So even if even he shot me. Even if his list wasn't even in order, I don't think Tatum is over LeBron. You know what I mean? So I do think it's a hate train. He's just a Celtics fan. We'll leave it at that. We'll have to give him his grace where his grace is due. That's just the Boston in him, the Celtic in him.
that's fair. What I'm interested though, what makes Doncic better than Tatum right now to you?
I think he's a better leader. Like he's the true leader of the Mavs. He doesn't take nights off. Luka, day in and day out, is doing what we expect Luka to do. Watching Tatum, and I'll go. The most recent game I watched him in was that in-season tournament game against the Pacers. I feel like he took the night off. You're settling for jump shots. You're not putting your head down and getting to the hoop. He's not the strongest guy, but easily he's able to use his length and get to the rim. I don't think that he plays to his potential night in and night out the same way Luka does.
And that's okay. I'm not to say I don't agree. I'm just being devil's advocate for one of my homies. I'm here to, provide different perspectives here. And he stands 10 toes. He's like, Jason Tatum is a better overall player than Luka Doncic right now. And I'm like, I can't outwardly say that's not true because there's a defensive end of the court. And I feel like he plays a better part that way than Luka does. But then there was a question posed. Tell me here, if you switch Luka and Tatum, are the Celtics as good? And to me, I say they're far better.
I say the same.
I agree.
thing.
But the only reason why is because it is a logjam between Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And we already know that having like two very nice guards next to each other is a harder complementary piece than having a, guard big combo or, so it's something that where it's more give and take possession.
So I think more so to that point, if Luka Doncic was on the Celtics in 2022, they probably win that championship.
Absolutely. I feel like Doncic would have been able to go shot for shot with Steph. I really do. They won that championship because of Steph and Steph alone. Steph won them that championship. I do feel like Andrew Wiggins was helpful. I do feel like, his defensive presence was helpful too. But in terms of offense, Luka would have been able to keep up.
Yeah. And on top of that, if there was more separation between Tatum and Brown, to your point about complementary pieces, I think they're too close. I think for a long time, there's always been the conversation of who would Boston keep if one had to leave. And I don't necessarily think that them paying Tatum the money they did this summer means that Brown would be their choice, because I think if Tatum was in the situation, they would have done the same. But I also think that while you could say that Tatum's a top 10 player in the league, undoubtedly, and Jaylen Brown is not playing on the same team, I don't think there's that much of a difference in their production and in their impact on the team, therefore creating the logjam. I think if you put Luka on the team with Jaylen Brown, yes, Jaylen Brown brings more versatility in a sense, but there's no question about who the better player is night in and night out. There's no question. There's no game that Jaylen Brown is really going to outshine Luka because of what Luka does. So I think that logjam in Boston might be their Achilles heel. That's not to say that I don't think they're capable of winning,
of overcoming it. Yeah.
But if they don't, I think that will end up being the reason. But also for that reason, I think that's why Brown will always stay in the top 5, because he shows time and time again that he's able to overcome some of those small things that these players just haven't figured out yet, but he's still doing this year 21 this year. Yeah. But yeah, so and counting. He'll probably play 25 years in the league, random. Last thing on Bron. I think he might play 25.
That man is insane. He's gonna cruise there, barring major injury. I have not every bit of it. But geez, man, like what? He's not human.
No, that's
granted. He's a billionaire. And it's he's got enough money to put into his body. He's gonna make it there some way. Every blood transfusion, or whatever he does. Like
I don't know what he's doing, but
have a quadruple hyperbaric chamber. Some shit we've never seen before.
Something
to make it.
But man, moving away from the OGs, let's talk about the Oshkosh boy.
Hey, he got kind of clamped yesterday, but I mean, they treated him like what he was, a budding superstar.
Exactly. Also, let's not forget, we said this at the beginning of the season, Gil. When the Lakers are healthy, they have the personnel to stop players. They have are lengthy wings.
Shouts out Cam Reddish because like he was the one kind of frustrated. Like the most solid 2 points I think out of anybody. Like he 2 points, 4 fouls. He was on his PJ Tucker. He was just there to annoy Haliburton, and you could tell like he wasn't getting the best looks that he's used to getting. Welcome to playoff basketball. Like the game slows down, and I remember he said in Olympic basketball, he's like, "Yeah, coach wants me to slow it down. I don't know what that's going to look like." And there's a tweet. It was like, "Oh no, homeboys, playoffs." I'm like, "Oh
no, absolutely." So, well, not too much on the Lakers, but what I will say about Cam Reddish, when the Lakers made that move, I've been a Cam Reddish fan since he's been in the league. I really liked him in Atlanta, and I thought it was very weird that they didn't think that he should have been a part of what they were building. That's very odd. Yeah. But then he moved around and didn't really get a shot. And I said on the Lakers, it's perfect. Like you don't need Cam Reddish, the offensive person that he was in high school and in college. You need him to be a defender. And he is a good NBA level defender who can guard 1 through 3. I guess he could guard 4s if they're stretched. Mostly 1 through 3. But there were a lot of people like in the preseason at the beginning of the season that, just thought I was crazy for even mentioning Cam Reddish as a solid pickup. But I think in this last little stretch, like the last month or so of the season, he's shown why he's starting, why he's on the floor when they're closing. So just wanted to get that off about Cam Reddish. Back to the Pacers and Haliburton. So one, if you have Cam Reddish guarding you, and then you have Vando guarding you next, and then sometimes you have Bron guarding you, and then sometimes you have AD guarding you, you're not going to get a lot of good looks that night, sir. Especially a young guard who's still figuring out that type of pace change. Like, no, when you're the focal point for a specific game or for a 7-game series, and they know everything that you want to do, so they're making you play uncomfortable. You have to adjust and figure out, do you adjust your game or do you get other people involved, or how do you do that? So he's definitely going to have to learn that, and that may be the Pacers' Achilles heel, because I think they'll win games in the regular season, and they'll seed relatively well, potentially top 6 in the East. But even whoever they get in that first round, wherever they go, like it's going to be a huge shock to them. But I mean, they have to go through that anyway. Did you all expect Haliburton's rise though? Did you all see this coming? Like even from last year, did we think that he would take this much of a leap?
Not to this extent. I didn't personally. I definitely knew he was a problem, but man, he's definitely exceeded my expectations, especially when it comes to his shooting. Like I said, I knew he was a problem. I knew, he could create his own shot, get his teammates involved. But when it comes to him being able to stretch the floor now, and again, truly being the focal point of that Pacers offense, they do a lot of things through Tyrese. And so, when he got traded, I thought it'd be a nice duo between him and Turner. But he really emerged as the star of that team.
Yeah. I think I didn't until it was time to do fantasy basketball, and I was like, why is he projected at 7? And then I was like, okay, statistically he's probably off. Like this is his year. Like after, and I said it too, preseason, all of those Olympic guys or FIBA guys that went over. I feel like that was going to be that jump for them. Ant is taking that leap. Although, America's boy, what y'all know who I'm talking about. He started off the year like all right, and now he's balling. Reeves, that genuinely forgot his name. And then what? Jaren, we knew after he couldn't grab boards that they were going to be terrible down there without Ja. So until he gets to get his big boys back in Brandon Clark and Steven Adams, he's going to be, in hell. But I feel like that makes him better. He has to see those. He has to see those guys in the West to get bigger and stronger to do what he needs to do as a big. And I feel like, we all go through those growing pains. So I don't know. I feel like that is when I kind of thought all of those guys would kind of take that leap. Forgot who else is on that team that helped them.
Bridges.
But yeah, Mikal Bridges.
Bridges for sure.
Yeah.
I think you could even include Bobby in that, to be honest. I mean, Bobby's role was already established, but I think that experience still has changed the way that Bobby's played this season, I think, personally.
Yeah.
But
more edge somehow.
Yeah. Which was needed. We'll have to save that Bucks topic for the very, very end, because that might turn into his own episode. But
insert the clip of when the Bucks lost to the Heat and all you could do was put your head down.
The crazy thing was we did that episode in 2020, and I literally had the same expression when it happened this past season, because it's just like, this is our kryptonite. I don't understand what's going on. But and so as far as Haliburton, I think he's in a really interesting place, because the leap he's taken this season is reminiscent of the leap that SGA took last year, and even Fox, you could say, right? And I wonder if Haliburton can be considered to be, I still don't know if he's taken the leap to be in that tier yet. It's hard not to put him in that tier with those players, because he's a realistic MVP candidate at this point, at least. But for as efficient as he is offensively, I don't think he has the defensive impact that like a SGA or a Fox has. So I don't know if he's, and that's why I feel like the Thunder are legit, because of SGA's two-way capability. I think that's what makes Sacramento so dangerous when they're at their best, because of that two-way capability of Fox. And I don't know that Haliburton has that to have that type of impact for the Pacers. So for as great as he's playing, I still don't know if he's taking that large leap, which I think hinders what the Pacers may be able to do overall until that adjustment happens for him. But I think it'll be interesting to see where he kind of ranks at the end of the year, depending on how he finishes out the season. But yeah, he's gonna have to fight, like, to really become that superstar. Like, not that the league can't have multiple superstars, but before people can start saying you're better than these players that have started to really, really establish themselves, he's got a little bit more work to do. But I do think this rise is meteoric. I just hope it's not short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but we talked SGA, we talked Anthony Edwards. We should talk about the leaps that both the Timberwolves and the Thunder have taken this season, because I do not think anybody expected them to be in the top 3 of the Western Conference. You have been an Ant fan all year, but did you expect them to be the number 1 seed?
I said that I said I was like, they can make the playoffs. People thought I was smoking.
No, I expected them to be a playoff team. I didn't expect them to be the number 1 seed.
You were like, they're gonna miss, and I was like, they're gonna miss. I'm like, yeah, we'll talk. We'll have to see what I said back in those days, but I did have them like, I was like, I feel like they could push top 4, but it's early. It's early,
very early,
and I'm right.
But it doesn't feel like not legit though. Like, I don't think this is a fluke. I don't think they're going to stay number 1 the entire season.
No, they're not one.
But I don't see them falling out of. They're definitely not falling out the top 6 to me.
Oh no.
Maybe not even out the top 4. Like, I think they've been playing that consistent.
I remember my shocking team that would miss possibly was Dallas, and that's the one that is like looking like they'll probably be still making that clearly. The Derek Lively jump is really what they need, and they've been playing really well together.
Dallas will probably still be a playing team. I don't know it depends on if they hit their stride. I think they have the potential to be top 6, but I feel like they'll fall within 7, 8. Like they should get a home playing game and they should win. But I don't think they'll crack the top 6 and be safe, unfortunately. Yeah. Not with the way some of the teams have been playing in the West. But how legit is OKC? We saw OKC last year. We saw them win a play-in game. We saw the ascension of Shea last year, and we see this year Chet's going to be rookie of the year. So we're just going to go ahead and just stamp that at this point. I'm going to call it early. And they're going to have the record for it. So I just think it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But
I mean, the Bucks had the record for it. They gave it to Tyreek Evans.
That's tough.
I do not.
That has the numbers though.
The scorned Bucks fan does not forget.
But I do think. I think that they're legit. I'm not considering them contenders, but I think they can win a first round series. The Thunder.
OKC.
Yes.
I agree. I don't see it. It wouldn't be a shock if they did. I definitely like the way that they're playing.
I just see them getting a tough matchup. I see the way the play-in is going to be jumbled. I see them ending up getting they're going to get a Dallas or Phoenix or potentially the Lakers unless they really start to play consistently, or a Clippers team that randomly finds its stride come playoff time. They're just going to get a matchup that's annoying because you're going to kind of be rooting for some of the OGs to still win and get their last hoorah. So I don't know. I feel like that's the only, because I feel like they're going to seed high. I feel like the Thunder are probably, barring injury, are probably going to stay with the top 3.
It's like last season when we saw the Kings. They were the 3 seed, but they got Golden State that first round. Yeah. So I think it might be the same thing.
And then Memphis getting LA.
Yeah.
That was just terrible timing.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible timing.
That's
are you all excited? Random, just because you brought up Memphis. Are you all excited for Ja to come back? How excited?
He's on 2 of my fantasy teams. I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I got Brandon Clark rotting on 1 too, just because when he gets back, I need rebounding in my categories league. So, I'm waiting. And then also the first post that they dropped was hilarious. What? Shot by Ja. Oh my God. They don't even know what they're doing. They're putting out such good.
No. What's the projection on Clark's return? Do you know?
No clue. It's a hope and a dream that he comes back for my league.
Yeah.
I just need him by playoff time. We'll see. I forgot what it was.
Playoff time.
Playoff time for fantasy basketball.
Oh. What? They're 13th in the West right now.
Yeah, they do suck.
Once Ja gets back, I feel like that just makes everyone's life easier over there. So I feel like getting Brandon Clark is a cherry on top. But if they are looking like they might make it, then they can ship for somebody. But I feel like that's
I don't know if Clark's coming back though. I don't think Clark's coming back this season, to be honest. It was an ACL injury, right?
Right. Yeah. So
he's not coming back this year.
How could Ja turn their season around?
I don't know.
I don't either. That's a big mountain to climb.
Is Ja that type of player? That's the question. Electrifying player, yes. Is he going to get his numbers? Absolutely. Is Ja a player that can win them games alone? Because essentially that's what he's going to have to do. I do think
not like that.
When Marcus Smart comes back from injury, I think with him and Ja, I do think that's a relatively competitive backcourt, if you will. On both sides of the ball. So I do think that will be helpful. But unless Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to have some type of ascension where he becomes this amazing two-way player consistently, there's a very low ceiling for what the Grizzlies can do this season. Adams being out is huge. Clark being out is huge. I didn't realize they lost Tyus Jones because they did, right?
Yeah, and he was a great backup guard.
So
their second unit does not look the same.
They've definitely taken some steps back, even though Bane has taken the leap that I think people expected him to take. But I just don't. They're going to have to figure out. They're going to have to kind of figure out their identity, who they are, all of that before I see them as legit contenders or at least a scary team again. So I don't know if I think Ja at best has them fighting, gets them a playing game, maybe. But I see them barely cracking that 10.
At that, I mean, hopes and prayers down in Memphis.
Truly.
That's all we can give them.
Ashley had another great question since we're talking about terrible teams this year. Which team is the biggest letdown this season? The Pistons or the Spurs?
I would say neither because I feel like we thought they were both going to be horrible. But I'd say Spurs. I mean, I think the Spurs because I had better hopes for them about being like, oh, a possible playing team. They could make something shake. I would say them. Even though Detroit has had this core longer, this is Cade's first year too, really. And they have a lot of good young pieces on paper, but that producing wins in the NBA is still really hard. Like Orlando was struggling in the beginning of the year until Joe Ingles was like, what are we doing? Like they need a vet in Detroit. Like they have 0 vets. And I think their vet is Marvin Bagley, which is a bad vet to have. So it's like, I'd say the Spurs for sure. They're a pop-led team with better young pieces that I think. Like Keldon had his his Olympic year with them, and he was supposed to make like some leap. I think Vassell's been good, but he got injured early. So yeah, I feel like that with all pieces combined, like 60-win team throughout, 2 decades, we'd expect them with Wemby to win more games, but sadly have not been putting it together. Like what, 15 straight losses, something like that. They just beat the Bulls, I think, or they also maybe lost to them too. I have no clue. Terrible. Yeah, I'd say the Spurs then. Like, I feel bad for them right now. And Detroit's awful.
Yeah.
I'd throw Washington in there. I'd say Washington is probably the bigger disappointment out of the two.
Honestly, truly, yeah. If you add Washington in there, they're the bigger disappointment because I think between Kuzma and Poole, we just thought they'd be able to win more games. But I also think that particular situation is just more of a testament to Poole is clearly not ready to lead a team. I think most people knew that. But the talent alone isn't going to win you games, nor is it going to do anything for your reputation. I think Kuzma is the respectable player that he's always been, but I don't think he's moving the needle as far as like being a guy that's taking a team anywhere. And that doesn't make it any better with your lead guard being Poole, at this point in time. So I will say Washington has been a bigger disappointment. I think between the Pistons and the Spurs, I think because of Wemby and because, like you said, they had a better I think like their roster was a little bit better constructed. It seems like young, yes, but competitive still in a sense. But I think we just expected the Spurs to be a bit more competitive. I don't think we expected 15 straight losses. I think we expected to maybe see Wemby be a bit more dominant. I think Wemby's still been impressive. I just don't think he's been the force that maybe some expected him to be, but that comes with adjustment to the game as a rookie and all of that stuff. So it's hard. And I think the Pistons, they just have this log jam of young talent guards at that, and they just don't know what they're doing yet. They don't have an identity yet. They're going to have to move some pieces around and actually start building a team before I think we see them become competitors. I mean, but they have talent. They're just in a tough spot. You have a great coach with a lot of talent that's trying to just figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like this season feels like it's a season-long tryout for that team, almost, like for the future of that team. Do you know who one of their wins is against?
Who?
Wait, no, was it the Pistons? No, who did we lose to early in the season? Was that Orlando? No, that was Orlando.
Orlando got us.
Right? Yeah. It wasn't Detroit. It felt like it was Detroit at this point. That's another time.
No. That's disrespectful to the Magic at this point because they're
balling.
The Magic are balling. The Magic are relatively
best young cores. That's what we were talking about.
Higher ceiling, Magic or Pacers?
Thunder.
Trick question. The team out in the West. Damn, higher ceiling? Like, are we talking for the future entirety or this year?
This year.
This year, I would say
Pacers.
And then for the future,
Magic. Well.
It's a toss up. It's like who stays? Like, you know, I would say Orlando just because we've seen more of Miles Turner and we probably know what he is more than Paolo and Franz. So, and like those guards are still figuring it out in Orlando. So, like, once they figure it all out, I feel like they'll be pretty solid.
Very true. Very true. Okay. Last but certainly not least, Gail, this was from you again. Is the NBA in transition? Whatsoever do you mean by that?
Are we seeing the passing of the guard? Are our aging stars gonna fold to, you know, the younger stars waiting in the cut? Like,
what's the separation?
I mean,
like of players.
Players at different spots. So like are the, you know, Kawhi and PGs going to be able to knock off the Shays and Chets? Are the, you know, Bron and ADs going to be able to hold off the Dylan Brooks and Alistair Shangoons of the world? You know, these are the burning questions that I had in my head. And I feel like there's a couple teams that we can see possibly with certain players say like, oh yeah, this is their way out of the league, more so than they can say they can compete. And there's younger teams where it's like they probably have a year or two to cook more, and some that might actually be knocking on that door. So are we fully at that place, or do we see that, you know, there's still some time on the clock for a lot of these guys?
I think the clock is ticking. Like we said earlier, I wouldn't be shocked if OKC was in a 3 seed and they got knocked out by the Lakers. You know what I mean? But the fact that OKC was in that higher seed says a lot about that team. So the clock is definitely ticking. The Kings, you know, they're up and coming. So I do feel that we're getting close to a changing of the guard. But what we saw in the NBA Cup finals, in season tournament finals, is the answer to that question. There is a changing of the guards, but the young players are not there yet. They still can't top LeBron. And so I think that's where we are.
I think there are tiers of this, right? I think if you talk about the OGs, the OOGs of the league currently, I think you're considering Bron, KD, and Steph. If there's another player of that caliber from their time and era that I'm missing, please let me know. But when I think of OGs and I'm thinking about stars, throw CP in there. If I'm thinking like been in the league probably 13, 14 plus years, because Steph is what, at 16 now? 15, 16?
Just about.
KD is what? Well, no, Steph I think is 15. KD is about 16, 17.
16, 17.
Bron's 21. CP's what, 19, 20?
Harden.
I think Harden is he's around where Steph is, right? He has to be like 14, 15. Something like that. Russ is around the same, somewhere between 15, 16, I think, something like that. So right? So those players, but I say Bron, KD, and Steph because I feel like those are the only 3 that legitimately have a shot at a championship based on how things stand right now.
Yes.
So that's why I use those 3. So then when you also look at this other tier, which is weird because we've kind of talked about this before with Giannis, but outside of the people we've named, who else outside of Jokic just getting one, Giannis and Jokic, who else in that tier of like, you know, your Giannis's, Jokic, Embiid, Booker, Tatum, Mitchell, well, you can put Murray with Jokic, but there's a large group that has they've opened the door. The door is open, right?
Yep.
Like, you know, for Tatum, the door is pretty much open. You've been in the finals, you play to the conference finals every year. The door is kind of open, right? I think for Booker, the door's open. Oh, it's just can you get a chip? The door's open. And then there's some that when you think of like the Mitchells, maybe when you think of like some of the other players who are like talent wise, they're there, but they haven't had the team success. They're like standing at the door and the door is unlocked. They just haven't touched the knob yet. Right. And then you got the players coming up the stairs, right? Like SGA, Fox.
There's a door.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just getting a glimpse of the door. So it's these different layers of where players are at, and it's because the parity is so wide in the league now, it's so up in the air. Like it's so hard to say until somebody gets their ring. Because if Joel Embiid gets a ring, it's going to change a lot of conversations, right? Because of the generational talent that he is. If Booker finally gets a ring, you're going to start having different conversations about the current shooting guard position. And the more that he starts to accomplish in his career, that becomes more of a conversation, but the ring helps, right? So you have a lot of these players in that kind of gray area right now, but you also got like LeBron still has an AD. KD has Booker. Steph has no one, but Steph also has 4 rings. So, you know, he holds a lot of other records. He's already in a lot of conversations. So Steph doesn't necessarily need much more, but you get my point, right? Everything else is a toss-up, you know. So it's hard because I ultimately agree that we're in transition, but it is this weird space of what really knocks a LeBron off. Like, do we know if there's a player that really is going to beat LeBron 2 years in a row?
Steph.
I don't know.
Or the only one that has. Sidebar: they were comparing Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton when they were 2 games up to Kobe and Shaq. Oh my God! Sorry. So yeah, a ring will change a lot of conversations. They're going to be talking about Joel Embiid is the real Hakeem Olajuwon. I'm not trying to hear these conversations.
That's going to be a real tweet. That's going to be a real tweet if that happens.
Oh my God! Everybody, he's a Cambodian Hakeem or whatever, Cameroonian, whichever one. I don't want to hear it. My God! Only one I'm trying to see is Anthony Edwards is actually Michael Jordan's illegitimate son, and Giannis
and not Jimmy Butler.
And not Jimmy. No, I'm not trying to hear that one at all. No. He is his other son. He's his other son, his other degenerate gambling son. Boom.
Yo, hey man.
Sorry, man.
But I mean, for the first quarter of the season, I don't think it's ever been this interesting. Like as far as having an in-season tournament, as far as seeing competitive basketball, seeing even some of the chirping kind of get started, you know. But do think all in all it's going to be good for the league moving forward. Well, guys, that was the first pod as a trio. But man, when we actually get into some things, when this season really gets juicy, Ashley.
Yeah, juicy.
When it gets juicy, then it's gonna be Miguel actually said the season it hasn't been juicy so far. Really, it hasn't been.
It's been you know, there's some flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's budding a little bit. The tournament gave us a taste, and now
it's simmering. Yeah.
It's simmering right now. We'll see. But until next time, until the next episode, we'll all catch y'all next time. Peace.